the people at his press conference that they needed to do things that were moral, especially when it came to the voting of the House of Representatives. Now, this has quite caused quite an uproar in the Mexican community. Let me go ahead and take off this title because it's not really necessary right now. But what what was interesting was that the people that are his party, like Morena, and then also the PT, and it's this whole group of people that were working towards a coalition for a better new tomorrow and so forth. Um, they seem to have taken it like he was saying that they were trying to do something illegitimate or immoral. But I don't think so. I don't think that is what he was saying at all. I think actually what he was telling them was that they um, that they well, the truth is I don't believe he was telling them anything about that at all. I think the point he was making was that uh, people didn't really understand the rules of how you vote for that position of the House, the chairing the House of Deputies, which is like the House of Representatives, where the district heads of each place um, would be represented, or would have a chairperson, and there people don't really understand how that is done. So when he told them the first year, the person who had the highest votes is going to be the one who's going to be in charge of the house. The second year it would be whoever was in second place, and the third year would be the person in the third place. Well, in this case, the person in the third place, or the group in the third place, I mean, would have been PT. Because what they do is they count the number of delegates that they sent, or deputies. Um, and the number was clearly that the PT party would wind up being in third place. So what he did was he pointed out what the rules were by pointing out the morality, and people took it out of context. He was just trying to show them, uh, bring attention to what the rules are. And he is correct. The rules are that that the party, the PT party, which is the People Trabajo, working party, um, that one was the one that was in third place, and that was the legitimate one, and in fact, the one that the people wanted. But in order to point it out, uh, he mentioned that they should not do anything underhanded, which the pre party is known to do underhanded things in the PAN party. And the pre party was in the fifth place. It had no place as to being the one that would be selected as the department head or the chairperson. So I think when he was pointing that out, they took it out of context, and that the president was actually referring to them just understanding the rules. And the rules are that the group that was, or the party that was in the third place, was the one that was supposed to be, according to the regulations, the one in the third place, the one that came in with the third in place in line of delegates, was the one that was supposed to be. And he warned them not to do underhanded things. And I don't believe he was talking about Noroña, because Noroña has been known not to do underhanded things, to be very forthright, very direct, and also never has he said that he was not um, supportive of the president. In fact, he said that no matter what mistakes, which because they considered it a mistake, because they thought that they were trying to say that the president was trying to say that they were doing something illegitimate. Quite the contrary. He was trying to protect them from the pre-party doing something illegitimate and underhanded, which was what he said about them not doing immoral things in another party. So here is where he brings it up, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you what he said. So the reporter from Reforma, which is like our Mexican Inquirer, said, "Is it so that you're gonna? How do you feel about the PT party trying to take the headship of these of the delegates?" So this is what he said.
Es todo un acontecimiento, un hecho histórico.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. We're taking that one off. I forgot. That was only for the picture. Sorry about that, guys. We actually want this one.
Este, eso es un asunto que corresponde al Poder Legislativo, pero
So he says this is a matter that actually corresponds to the legislative branch. However,
sí puedo opinar
I can give my opinion
como ciudadano
as a citizen
y además como luchador social.
and also as a social freedom fighter.
Creo que hay que respetar
I believe we should be respectful
la legalidad
of legalities
y no hacer lo mismo de antes.
and not do what they did before or the same things as in the past.
Nada de maniobras.
So no handiworks or underhanded things
Por cargos.
in order to take posts, positions, like to get ahead.
Es decir, hacer cosas que a todas luces son indebidas.
Not to do things that under any light would look inappropriate.
Se tiene que respetar la ley, el reglamento.
So you must respect the rules and the regulations.
Es como pasó hace un año.
So it's like what happened about a year ago.
Y di mi opinión.
And I gave my opinion.
Y lo quiero y lo respeto muchísimo, el licenciado Muñoz Ledo.
And I respect him and love him very much. Licenciado Mores Nelo.
Pero, de acuerdo al reglamento,
But according to the rules,
el primer año,
the first year,
la presidencia del Congreso corresponde al partido que obtiene más votos.
so he says, as I understand it, the first year goes to the party that has the most votes.
Con más escaños.
That is to say, the most representatives
Que tiene más diputados.
or more deputies. Or diputados. It's more like the ones who are in charge. Gosh, I can't think of the proper word.
El reglamento se establece.
And it is established in the regulations.
Segundo año para que obtiene el segundo lugar.
So then the second year, the one who had the second place.
Y correspondía al PAN.
And that one would have corresponded, he said, to the PAN party.
Pues se quería modificar el reglamento.
Well, they wanted to modify the regulations.
Y como se tiene la mayoría, se puede.
And because they had the majority, they could.
Pero no se debe.
But they should not.
Porque la política es un imperativo ético.
Because politics has an ethical imperative.
Entonces, si está establecido
So therefore, if it is established
de que para el tercer año es el que obtuvo el tercer sitio, así debe de ser. Y se debe
so that if it is established that the one who had third place in the accountability was supposed to be in place in the third year, then that's how it should be. And the one that had the third place was the PT party, which is Noroña's party. So he was not, and everyone got confused. And they switched. They did exactly what he said not to do. He said, do not go around moving parties to try and get a certain one in. And that's exactly what they did, which was inappropriate and underhanded. And because they thought that the president was saying that. But that's exactly what he was saying not to do. Do not switch parties to try to make someone win. And in fact, the PT party was in third place from the very beginning. So that would be Noroña should be the president this year.
debe de respetar.
Y se deben de evitar cosas indebidas como cambiarse de bancada.
Sí,
So she said, so that means they should not be doing inappropriate things like changing seats or like parties, right? And he said, that's correct.
pero actuar con rectitud,
But instead, they should act morally correctly.
no estar maniobrando de última hora por los cargos.
And not to be, how should I say, doing handiwork at the last minute in order to get the charges.
No es triunfar a toda costa, sin escrúpulos morales de ninguna índole.
So that is not to win at any cost without moral scruples.
Esto perjudica al partido que lo hace.
And that actually puts the party that is doing it in a bad light. Okay, wait. So we're going to hold on just a moment. I'm trying to fix this box here. Give me just a moment. Because I can't make it fit. Un momentito. Voy a hacer que quepa esta cajita porque quiero que se vean cuando dejan algún comentario, porque me encanta que me estén visitando aquí y puedan ver ahí quién está en el chat, ¿ok? Gracias. Ok. Vamos a empezar de nuevo.
¿Por qué le perjudica?
So how
Porque
does
en
it
este caso
hurt them? Well, because in this case,
le da argumentos al conservadurismo,
because it gives conservatives an argument to speak of.
ya me imagino al Reforma, ¿no?
I can only
Ocho
imagine
columnas.
Reforma.
Compraron votos,
Then they would say 8 columns. They bought their votes.
maniobraron,
They did something underhanded.
por un cargo, no,
For some position,
no se puede.
No, you cannot do that.
Hacer política sin autoridad moral.
To do politicking without moral authority.
Ese es mi punto de vista.
And that is my point of view.
Desde luego van a decidir ellos.
But of course, they're going to be the ones that decide it.
Lo tienen que hacer con libertad.
And they must do it with liberty, freedom.
Pero el colmo sería
But the tippy top of it, the worst would be
que acomoden las cosas
for them to arrange things
a la medida de alguien,
to somebody's measure
de algún partido,
from a certain party,
y luego me echen la culpa a mí.
and then they would blame me
Porque la prensa conservadora nada más ve a el de Macuspana, sí, de Tepetitán.
because the press only pays attention to, I don't know, he said Tepetitlan, Marco Hispana, I don't know what that means.
No me meto más, ya hablé.
And he says, I won't get into it anymore. I've already spoken. Okay, so you see what I mean? If you take a look at who was in the third place, it was the PT party, and it should be the PT party that is in, that should be in effect the chairperson. And so let me say hello to my friends here. We've got Gabriela Silvia Tori, Gabriel España, Gregorio Torres, let's see who else, Ernesto Gutierrez Hernandez, and let's see, Ali. Oh, saludos, Ali. I've been wanting to get a hold of Ali. Okay, and then Gabriel España again, Ernesto, okay. So the point is that the president knew what he was saying. In fact, somebody said something like, oh, the president was misinformed. He doesn't know who's supposed to be in there. Yes, he does. He is very well informed. And who should be in there is the PT party, because they, in fact, were in third place. And he said, do not do anything underhanded. And so he was not telling them switch parties like the Morena people did. And I don't know, several of them, 91, switched parties because they thought that's what the president was asking them to do, when in fact he was telling them exactly the opposite. Do not switch parties in order to try and get someone into office, which in fact, no matter whoever says it, and they thought he said it, so they went ahead and switched their position and did not vote for Noroña, who was the actually supposed to be according to the regulations if they would have not moved around. So anybody that has any comments to make, si tienen comentarios sobre esto, estoy diciendo que el presidente no estaba mal informado, que el presidente sí sabía que el partido de PT de Noroña estaba en tercer lugar. El presidente sabe bien cuáles son los que votaron, los números, él sabe todo. Así es que él lo que les estaba diciendo fue exactamente lo opuesto de lo que hicieron. Él les dijo, no se cambien de partido, que gane, el que sea correcto, no hagan nada incorrecto. Y exactamente eso fue lo que hicieron los del partido de Morena. Se movieron al otro lado para que ganara el PRI, porque pensaron que eso es lo que quería el presidente. Pero ¿cómo va a ser posible que el presidente quiera que entren esas personas Ese partido que ha sido tan ratero y malo para nuestro país, no puede ser posible. ¿Cómo se pueden haber confundido? Si yo desde que lo oí que lo dijo, yo dije, algo se trae. Por alguna razón lo está diciendo. Y ya me lo figuré. Es porque el partido del tercer lugar era el PT. Entonces tenemos que difundir para que los que están confundidos, que son los, los que estaban del partido de Morena, que, ah, que deshagan ese error que hicieron muy grande de no respaldar a Noroña, porque Noroña de veras está del lado de la gente y los del PRI no. Ninguno de ellos, ni incluso ni Morena. Morena no se está portando bien, se está poniendo al lado del PRI simplemente porque alguien lo dijo, porque se confundieron. No creo que está correcto. ¿Qué dicen ustedes? Ok, let's see. Mira, vamos a ver una cosa aquí. Ayer, ¿dónde estaba? Lo del partido de donde estaba hablando Noroña. No me acuerdo dónde lo guardé ya. Pero estaban diciendo los números de vamos a ver si lo puedo hallar aquí. Noroña, partido, no, ¿cómo va? Noroña, okay, I think this is it. Ok, aquí está. Vamos a ver Vamos a poner la pantalla izquierda. Ok, y aquí se ve. Ok, vamos a oír lo que dijo aquí. Aquí.
Nunca se había interesado en la elección de la mesa directiva de la Cámara de Diputados. Y hoy
So never before had they been interested. So see, the president brought the attention and the interest to the House of Representatives or the deputies.
gracias al esfuerzo que hemos hecho desde el Partido del Trabajo,
So the PT, Partido del Trabajo, that's the one.
to-
Come on.
todos los ojos están puestos en la.
So he says, all eyes are in this now.
Es un parteaguas para la revolución sin violencia que es la cuarta
And he says it is a parting of the waters for this coalition of, freedom fighters
transformación.
that are fighting for the transformation.
Es fundamental.
It is fundamental.
¿Cómo podríamos ir a nuestros distritos
How then could we go to our districts
a explicarle a la gente
to explain to the people
que votamos por el PRI
that we voted for the pre-party?
cuando en todas las campañas electorales una consigna es ni un voto al PRI ni un voto al PAN?
Whereas the recommendations of the people have always been not one vote for the pre or the PAN party.
Cuando hoy todavía está la desaparición forzada de los 43 normalistas de Ayotzinapa, Sinaloa.
And as of now, the 43 freedom fighters from Huatzinapa are still missing.
Aclarar. Cuando la red de corrupción de Odebrecht se hizo desde la presidencia de
When the web of corruption of Odebrecht was done from the presidency
Enrique Peña Nieto,
by Enrique Peña Nieto, who's a pre-party person,
priista, dándole sobornos al PAN
and he was giving bribes to the PAN party,
por 6 millones de
$6 million
dólares al PRI y al PAN.
for the pre and the PAN party.
Los senadores 68 millones, los diputados
And the senators got 68 million. I mean, 68,000, or is it million pesos maybe?
58 millones, alguien que estuvo ahí
And 58 million for someone else?
muy honorable en la presidencia recibió 6.8 millones y fue
And a very, very honorable person in the presidency received $6.8 million.
candidato a la presidencia del PAN, del PRD
One who was candidate from PAN and PRD
y del Movimiento Ciudadano.
and the citizens movement.
El compañero presidente hoy en la mañana se manifestó como ciudadano en contra de las maniobras.
So this is where he clarified it. He said the president manifested himself as a citizen against any underhanded works.
¿Cómo se le llama a que 4 diputados del PRD se sumen a las filas del PRI para darle mayorías y
So he says, then what do you call it when 4 party members from the PRD moved over to the pre-party to give them the majority?
no es una maniobra burda?
Isn't that an outright underhanded thing?
Vulgar.
It's vulgar.
Los 4 diputados del PRD van a estar 15 minutos en las filas del PRI.
And those 4 people are going to be on the side of the pre only for 15 minutes, and then they'll go back,
Luego se regresarán al PRD,
and then they'll return to the PRD party,
pero van a cargar toda la vida con esa vergüenza.
but then they will carry for the rest of their lives that shame
De haber sido priistas por 15 minutos.
of being pre-party people for even 15 minutes
Para robarnos la presidencia de la Cámara de Diputados
in order to steal from us the presidency or the chairman's seat,
que en derecho nos correspondía.
which corresponds to us by right.
Porque nosotros llegamos a esta Cámara con 61 legisladores.
Because we arrived to this house with 61 legislators,
Morena con 192, Acción
and Morena had 192,
Nacional con 81.
and PAN had 81.
El PES con 56 y el PRI con 40.
So the PES 46,
55.
and I'm sorry, 56, and the pre-party only had 45 or 46 or 41, something like that.
El revolucionario institucional no tendría legitimidad para subir de ese número.
And the pre-party could not legitimately go above that number.
Ganó solo 9 distritos de mayoría.
And it only got 9 districts of majority.
El pueblo lo repudió,
The people turned them away,
lo mandó a un lejano tercer lugar en la
and they sent them to the distant 3rd place
elección presidencial
in the presidential election,
y al quinto lugar de legisladores
and in the 5th place of legislators
en esta soberanía.
in this sovereignty.
¿Por qué va a presidir la Cámara de Diputados?
So then why or how could they preside over the House of Representatives or deputies?
¿Por qué va a presidir una pandilla criminal?
So how could you have a criminal gang preside over this?
Que remató el patrimonio nacional,
Because they undersold the inheritance or patrimony of the people, the national one,
que endeudó al pueblo,
that indebted our people,
que masacró,
that massacred,
que empobreció a la gente,
that impoverished the people.
que nos llevó al segundo lugar de pederastas del mundo.
And it took us to the 2nd place of the most disgusting of the world, that is corrupt.
Es terrible
It is terrible.
lo que estoy planteando y podría irme largo.
And he says what I am saying, and I could even say so much more.
Compañeros, compañeras, tengo aquí 4 expedientes.
My friends, I have here four folders
de compañeros de Morena que firmaron para pasarse a nuestra fracción parlamentaria.
of people from the Morena party that signed to switch over to our party.
Y está Manuel López, al cual le agradezco de corazón su apoyo,
And there's Manuel, whom I appreciate his support very much from my heart.
que podría estar aquí también en estos 5 expedientes y seríamos más.
And he could also be within these folders, and we could have even more
Que los que presentó el PRI
than what were presented from the pre-party,
para legítimamente presidir la Cámara de Diputados y no los presentamos.
so that we could legitimately present to the House, but we didn't present them
Porque hemos cuidado a Morena,
because we are cautious to protect Morena,
porque hemos cuidado la Junta de Coordinación Política, porque
because we are protecting them against political contradiction,
contrario a las campañas que nos han hecho,
contrary to the campaigns that they've done against us.
hemos sido y seguiremos siendo unos aliados
And we were and we continue to be
leales
loyal. And then she's asking for permission for the, I guess the people were making too much noise.
Compañeras, respeto al orador.
And she's asking for respect for the
Adelante,
speaker.
porque somos y seguiremos siendo aliados leales de la
Because we are and we will continue to be loyal allies
Cuarta Transformación.
of the fourth transformation. Okay, but the important part here I wanted to point out was that they were, in fact, if you look at the number of votes, in the third place, and they legitimately should be the ones who take the position according to the regulations. And I think that is what the president was pointing out when he said it at the conference, was that it was the one that was in third place that was supposed to be in the House and not to be moving around. And that is precisely what they did. They moved from place to place. A ver, déjame ver lo que están diciendo aquí. Ok, vamos a ver. Dice aquí, haramos conciencias desde nuestras trincheras fuera neoliberales. Claro que sí, ladrones, vendepatrias, saqueadores, nuestros recursos, gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí y por decir su opinión. Es muy importante que digan lo que sienten, que ayudemos a los que están tratando de hacer cosas correctas para nuestro país. Yo creo que Noroña es uno de ellos. Claro que el presidente es uno de ellos. Y yo no creo que el presidente estaba mal informado. Creo que el presidente sabía exactamente que quién estaba en el tercer lugar, que era el PT, y que ellos deberían de ser los que toman la silla, y que los de Morena se confundieron y pensaron que estaba diciendo que el PRI. Así es que por eso se brincaron de un partido al otro, y es lo que no deben hacer. They jumped them up. That's right. There are not regulation at all. That's right. So they were going against the regulations, and they jumped parties, which is exactly what they were warned not to do. And thank you, Francisco Mesa, for that. Silvia Tori and Ali says saludos. Saludos from Silvia Tori. Ali. Francisco Mesa, let's see. Ali, llámame al WhatsApp porque quiero que hagamos un video, okay? Let's see. Monreal. Mexicanos. Okay. So I'm bringing this back to the top so you guys can see some of these things that people had to say. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit slower here. Oh, they're so sweet. They say thank you for the information. And, I think for the most part, people are aware and they are doing the right thing. And the people would not be happy at all if the pre-party were the one in charge, because they usually do things that are underhanded legally and illegally. And so you definitely do not want to put them in a position of power legally, since we know that they are very corrupt. So anyway, that's my 3 cents. Si tienen algo que quieren decir, escríbanlo ahorita porque ya vamos a cerrar la sesión. Muchas gracias por estar aquí en el programa. Les agradezco a todos los que estuvieron aquí y sigan apoyando a Noroña, porque Noroña es el que debe de estar en posición. Muchas gracias, amigos. Adiós, besitos y abrazos.